I don't get the impression that James Harden is going to leave Philadelphia. He has the ability to opt out of his contract after this season. And over the last couple of weeks, months even, we have seen rumor after rumor about how a reunion between Harden and the Rockets could happen. But I didn't get that vibe in his post-game interview that he did in the Sixers locker room. First, he was asked about the season as a whole and his future.
I know obviously it's so fresh, but how would you just kind of summarize the season as a whole?
Our season is over, so sums it up right there.
Doc Rivers said even though you had a great regular season, the way it ends diminishes in some way the season. I mean, do you agree with that, the way it ends like this?
Yeah.
James, what will be the things you weigh when you decide what you're going to do this summer, both with your option and then what your future is if you opt out?
I haven't even thought about it,
I don't believe him that he hasn't thought about it. So you hear that clip right there. You might be thinking his time in Philadelphia has come to a close. The press conference continues, and Harden obviously is disappointed with the end of the season, and he seems to be holding back on something in this press conference.
Very frustrating. It's a lot I want to say, but yeah, it's frustrating.
And I wonder what he wants to say. And I think we're going to circle back to somebody that will be the sacrificial lamb for this Sixers failure. Because as this Harden press conference continued, the way he talks here makes you think that there's some unfinished business for he in Philadelphia.
I mean, we're only 1 year in. We played against a team who's been together for quite a few years now. I mean, they were in the finals last year, so they kind of know what it takes to get back there. And this is only year one for us, full year. It was great. It's great.
It's the first full season that Harden's had in Philadelphia because if you remember, he was traded from Brooklyn to Philadelphia at last season's trade deadline. So I heard that and thought to myself, wait, interesting. That sounds like somebody who wants to continue to build whatever the hell that is in Philadelphia. I was struck by it. Sean, did you have a different reaction to it? Because I heard that and I feel like it's not just that the Sixers are out and Harden lost. Seems like Harden might not want to take his talents to Houston, which I am very, very excited about.
Yeah, he definitely wasn't like the most superstar I'm out of here press conference that like we've seen a lot of those where it's like I'm not going to be here. This was definitely not one of those. Whether that's James Harden actually like authentically wants to stay in Philadelphia or what I think it is that James Harden and I have a lot of experience in this. James Harden has a lot of experience in this. After you absolutely no show or poop the bed, either way, in a series and season-ending game, James Harden post-game press conferences, you're getting nothing from him. You're getting absolutely nothing from him. He's gonna like everything he says. He just kind of mumbles through. Like there's one clip. The first clip we played is about 30 seconds long, and he gives 3 different answers, 3 different questions and answers. Get boom, boom, boom in 30 seconds. I think James Harden is just at the end of the day just going to be saying whatever it takes to not do what Joel Embiid said.
At the NBA Central tweeted out at about 8:30 this morning, which I'm guessing was in response to a segment that Adrian Wojnarowski did on ESPN. But per Woj, James Harden is, quote, very serious, end quote, about returning to Houston. I wonder if it's as serious as we maybe were hearing these last couple of weeks, though, because you would think after a dud of a performance in a Game 7 like that Harden would be so out. But it's not just the way that James Harden spoke about how it's only been 1 year for us being together. Look at Boston. It's also what Joel Embiid said here in a clip that is being destroyed online.
You can't win alone. I can't win alone. Me and James, we just can't win alone. That's why basketball is played 5-on-5. So, we just need everybody to just, try to keep finding ways to get better, and, we'll be fine.
Me and James can't win alone. We'll be fine. Now, everyone is jumping all over the we can't win alone because Joel Embiid was terrible yesterday. He was 5 of 18 from the field. He was 0 for 4 from outside. He played very poorly. I don't know how much he could have done in a game where Jason Tatum goes off like that to change this outcome, but he stunk along with Harden. And yet, he's saying we. Embiid is going to push Harden, I think, very hard to stay, which is maybe surprising given the results of what you just saw. I don't know how any Philadelphia fan expects things to be different this coming season if they're rolling the same thing back. And that's where we get to another reason why I think Harden might stay. There's something Harden likes to do. Harden might not have done it that much in Houston, but I think Harden likes killing coaches. I do. Remember when he did it with Kevin McHale? And again, maybe he was warranted in doing it. But he talks about how he wants a chance to compete and then circles back to Doc Rivers in this clip we're about to play. You tell me if you think that Doc Rivers will be back coaching James Harden after the way this ended.
When you got here, you said that one of the reasons you wanted to come, if I'm not mistaken, was Doc. How has your relationship been with Doc, and would you like to see him back?
Our relationship is okay.
Our relationship is okay. Oh. And he also said he wants to be on a team with a chance to compete. So, I got to say, guys, if you add up Harden talking about how that was the first year for the Sixers together, and about the end of that clip right there, we hear that does not sound good for Doc Rivers. And Joel Embiid saying we, talking about he and James Harden. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Harden will opt out of his contract for this final year coming up in Philadelphia.
The funniest part about this clip is the very beginning, like after the question is finished and the start of James Harden's answer.
Right.
Our relationship's okay. like how's that reaction then followed up with like, love this guy?
All you have to do is say okay.
Yes.
He didn't even, if he had just said okay, but he thought about it. And if you go back to a little bit earlier in that press conference, Harden said, there's some things I want to say, but he didn't actually say them. They're going to pin it on somebody. And Harden's great at finding fall guys, as we are very well aware of in Houston.
Also, who Paul is I don't know his exact title, but the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers.
Tad Brown. And Daryl Morey.
Yes.
It's the same people in Houston, in Philadelphia.
Is Daryl Morey going to look at any basketball team ever created and look at it and go, you know what the problem with this basketball team is? James Harden.
Right.
He's not going to do it. If James Harden is not a Philadelphia 76er next year, it is because James Harden does not want to be a Philadelphia 76er next year.
Here's the thing. He never really left the Houston Rockets. He just migrated.
They just moved north
to Philadelphia with Tad Brown, who used to be the team president, with Daryl Morey, who obviously used to be the general manager. Mike D'Antoni was there for a little bit, right, as an assistant coach. Like, everyone went up there.
Sam Cassell's up there.
Sam Cassell. PJ Tucker. I mean,
PJ Tucker, Daniel House.
I forgot about Daniel House. Here's what I think might happen. Two things can be true. Harden could theoretically play this next season in Philadelphia and then come back to Houston. There might be a return to Houston. It's not necessarily going to happen overnight. It could be sped up. The only thing that I think will speed it up is on Thursday when we find out when the Rockets are picking
Tuesday
in the NBA draft. Is it? Oh, excuse me. It's tomorrow?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So tomorrow we're going to find out where the Rockets pick. I thought it was Thursday for some reason. And in that, if the Rockets get the number 1 overall pick, I think Harden's going to want to return. And Harden might think about opting out if he has the chance to play with someone like Wembanyama. But I think there's a chance that he plays out the last year in Philadelphia. It feels like there's unfinished business, and it also feels like he's sharpening a knife there. It does feel like he's about to just stab it in the back of Doc Rivers, which is understandable because Doc Rivers does not have a great track record in the playoffs outside of 2008 with the Boston Celtics.
Doc Rivers, I saw this stat, I think it was Mike Prada that tweeted it out. Doc Rivers teams, when they have 3 wins in a playoff series, are 16-32 in just total games. Like, they lose twice as often as much as they win when they have 3 wins in a series.
That is legitimately incredible. And by the way, Doc said that he intends to return next year.
Oh, cool.
I'm sure you do.
Thanks.
I'm sure you do.
Oh, okay, you're not quitting.
Even
Cool.
if it's not his fault, it's going to be his fault, especially because of what you said there. Because there's so many of these moments with Doc Rivers, it's easy to focus on that and say another coach could get more out of these players.
And it's as easy as you don't have to make the case that it's Doc Rivers' fault, but what is the case that no, Doc Rivers is like one of the good things on this team? Like, what's the case for Doc Rivers keeping his job? Like, what is the case for that?
I really don't know.
That's what gets forgotten in a lot of these hires or a lot of the coach firings is that not only do you have to make the case, like, theoretically that why this person should be fired, but, like, more importantly, like, why should you keep the job?
Exactly.
And why shouldn't we just have a free dice roll, especially in this coaching market in the NBA this year, where there's like a lot of really good coaches that are available. Monty Williams, who was an assistant in Philadelphia recently. You got Coach Bud. You got Nick Nurse. And meanwhile, Rockets sitting pretty with Ime Udoka. Ime Udoka should fire his agent for having him. I'm glad he's here, but if I was Udoka, I'd be like, wait, we had to take the Rockets job before the playoffs started? We had to do that?
Maybe he wanted it. I mean, it could have been a decision that he made very easily too. Because
so he wanted to coach the Rockets more than he wanted to coach either Kevin Durant and Devin Booker, Giannis, or Embiid and Harden.
Maybe, but
which I just already fired Doc Rivers there.
To Udoka's credit, though, I mean, he's a hard ass, and sometimes some stars are set in their ways. And would you want to coach Joel Embiid and James Harden when after the game, Joel Embiid is saying what he said and Harden's looking the way that he looked in Game 7, like on the court? I think Harden actually sounded more mature after the loss than Embiid did.
That is what I was kind of referring to in the first segment, where you hear what Embiid said, which Embiid said most of the right things, but then in that clip, he says the wrong thing.
Right.
And even like at the start of that answer, he kind of like, well, I got to be better, da-da-da. And then he just keeps talking, and then he says the wrong thing. What I give James Harden credit for, he gives you nothing. In every like post-game press conference after, again, a season-ending loss, which there's been plenty where you absolutely play like dog bleep, he just goes, yeah, got to be better. I'm disappointed, da-da-da. And just like 5-word answers. That's all he gives you. Embiid tried to give a minute-and-a-half long answer, and he just stumbled into saying, well, everyone's got to be better. James and I can't do it alone, which is and by the way, that's the only part of the answer that's going to get clipped, and that's the only part that got clipped.
It's funny, too, because he was clearly trying to protect James, but then threw the
lumped
entire
himself
team under the bus.
Exactly.
Which is interesting in that it is, I think, also a sign that Embiid wants to make this thing happen again with Harden. Yeah. And I'm under the impression that Harden maybe wants to give this one more year. We, of course...
One last ride.
One last ride. It's Fast Furious 10 week, baby. 713-780-3776 to call in or text into the most interactive sports talk show in Houston. A couple of comments that I did want to read from Twitch, twitch.tv/ESPN975. Z_Versace Z says, Tom Bolzone, Jimmy Butler will take down the Celtics. I would not be surprised by that at all. Did you see how close that series was last year? And now they got Kevin Love. I don't know. I would not be surprised by the Heat winning in this coming Eastern Conference Finals.
I'd be a little surprised, but not stunned.
I'm not going to be like Mike Greenberg saying, like, oh, it's so humid in South Beach, though. Like,
I don't know. Is a cold front coming in? Because that is something that Joe Mazzulla has to get his guys ready.
I guess so. HRW said on twitch.tv/ESPN 97.5, I'd like to see you make it rain all over town and win at an elite level. Paulie, Harden's biggest credit was that he partied hard and he put up regular season numbers.
That's why it's like kind of surprising that you don't like Harden. Like, just if I just told you that there's a guy
if he was in better shape, like if there wasn't something for me to physically look at and say, ugh, like, lift a little,
gross,
then we probably wouldn't be here. But I mean, we've all seen it, and I've seen a couple of people saying it. Like, who actually wants to bring Harden here? We've been here before. This is turning into essentially like a repeatable network television show with Harden. In these moments, Game 7, it's like they're gonna get blown out, and he's probably not gonna show up.
But that's why, like, and I've said it the entire time, like, this postseason flameout, like, does not affect my thinking on James Harden coming to the Rockets, like, whatsoever, because this is what it's expected, which is a bad thing, but that's what it's expected, and the Rockets are so far away from losing in the second round of a playoff series and having their best player no-show that it's like, just getting there would be such an achievement that,
Yes.
like, sure, whatever. Like, don't give him the full max, but, like, he can come. I don't care.